Everyone, how's it going? Another stream today, another collab, quite interesting. There have been a lot of collabs in this game so far, and here we are today with another collab. The TenSura Collab, a lot easier to say TenSura instead of the whole, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. There's no way I'm gonna fit that on a title, but anyways, today we're mostly going to be looking at the new, well, we're going to be looking at what this collab brings, everything that this collab is bringing today, and mostly focusing on the new unit and the arc. But since this is a rerun, there are a lot of rerun arcs and units, so we'll have a look at those too, but not too much because there isn't too much to talk about those. The older units, they aren't really, you know, they're not that great compared to current units at all, and their 6th enhance hardly changed anything for those units, so yeah, those older units aren't really going to be usable still, which sucks, but you could use them if you want. But first, let's have a look at the new Part 1 unit and the arc. So this one is quite an interesting one. So we've got Veldora, which I know a few people wanted Veldora to be in this game, which he is now, and he is pretty cool as a unit. It's just the way that they brought him into this game, his kit and all of his skills and everything that we'll have a look at in a minute, they are a bit strange, and I'm not sure how to feel about them. Like, I'm a bit worried about them, and let's just start it off and have a look at him first. So Veldora Tempest does look great. Artwork is amazing, always. Very cool. So, the one thing that's interesting about all of these units in this collab is, I believe they're all going to be dragon types, and we rarely get dragon type units, so dragon type units are going to be pretty tanky in places like Arena and any PvP content, because most units won't have Dragon Slayer, or at least damage towards dragons. Most of the PvP units are usually human types, so being a dragon does help a bit for survivability, so that's something. So his stats are going to be pretty high because he does have a few skills to help with his stats, and he is going to be one of those no wield type units, which is strange to say. He doesn't equip a weapon and he doesn't equip armor. That's the one thing got to remember. It's kind of similar to Ryvern, very similar. They are kind of the way that they are built, they are very easy to build because you only need to equip 2 accessories and that's it. You don't need a weapon or armor, so you don't need to worry about those, which I think they did a good job with Ryvern, and with Veldora it's kind of a similar scenario, I think. But stats looking pretty nice. HP, strength, defense, mind, pretty good stats. Attribute resistance is -22 fire, +32 thunder, pretty good. Ailment resistance is nil to curse. Weak to silence doesn't really matter too much, unless you want him to be using things like honey elixir or any supportive skills, then you're probably gonna need to increase that resistance, but that's fine. Nothing really crazy here. So abilities, these skills aren't really anything crazy, they're just basic earth skills. So he's going to be an earth DPS unit, which is a bit strange because the artwork looks more like fire, you know, which is strange, but whatever, earth's fine, I guess. So his skill 1 is just a frontal medium area earth combo attack. Skill 1 is going to be 8 hits. I'm not really a fan of his skill 1, honestly. His skill 1 looks incredibly slow, so if I were to get him, I would probably rarely use his skill 1. I would probably use his skill 2 and 3 a lot more, because skill 1 just seems very slow, so I don't really care about skill 1. His skill 2 is 12 hits, and it is a close the gap skill, so his skill 2 is going to be pretty useful, because you can use it to get across the map, get close to the enemy. I think it's going to be pretty useful. So you probably use, the combo that I'm thinking of right now is you use your skill 2 to get close to the enemy, and then you'll start spamming your skill 3, probably. Something like that sounds good, or you could probably just keep spamming your skill 3 since it's a long range attack. So 12 hits for a skill 2, and a skill 3 is a levitate for a wide area long range earth combo attack around the target. Interesting. A bit strange because it is a long range skill, so technically you could just make him spam his skill 3 and stay long range, but that's not really a good idea because once he runs out of skill 3 he's going to be close up anyway, so yeah. 16 hits of his skill 3, so his hit counts aren't that great honestly, and his hit counts do remind me of Ryvern because Ryvern skill 3 has the same hit counts as Veldora. They both have 16 hit counts for their skill 3, which is funny. But yeah, his skills don't look anything crazy, but I will try him out later. I haven't tried him in battle yet. I've only seen the videos and heard a bit about him so far. And his special isn't going to be anything crazy. Powerful earth combo attack to all enemies, and then the final hit damage cap plus 500,000. It's not really anything crazy because it's not that many hits, and overall it's not going to do insane damage. It's going to be decent, but nothing that you really want to focus heavily on. So skills, nothing really anything crazy so far. So the traits, always where it gets way more interesting, and especially the trait 2, a bit to talk about there, and kind of what I'm thinking about it so far. But let's start off with the trait 1. So when no armor or weapons are equipped, then you get 130% physical and special damage, which is nice, and you also get 50,000 damage cap. So that is a lot for a trait, and if you remember, Ryvern's trait isn't as good as Veldora's trait, but Ryvern has most of his damage and damage cap from skills. There is one skill on Ryvern that gives him 90,000 damage cap and 100% physical damage. That makes up for most of his damage, honestly, but Veldora has 130% damage and 50,000 damage cap all the time, as long as you don't have a weapon or armor. So that's very nice, and because of that, you're probably going to want to not have any weapons or armor on him, and that's going to be his best role, basically, the best build for him. When using a skill can't be interrupted by most attacks, it's great. Always love to see that. Some kind of super armor is always very useful on any unit. A unit that has super armor already becomes valuable because of it, because it allows you to spam your skills and not get flinched most of the time. So it's very fun using the unit that can't get flinched, because it allows you to just spam the skills and not worry about flinching, so that's great. And then something weird, so his charisma, when his charisma is active, enemy attention drawn +2. So his charisma, all allies physical damage taken -10%, if damage is an absolute weakness then -15% more. So basically, if he uses his charisma, then obviously he's going to take less physical damage and absolute weakness damage, but he's also going to get enemy attention +2 for him, which is a bit strange, but I do kind of like that, honestly. I think that's interesting, and that could be used potentially. Like, you could allow him, you could have like 2 different builds if I'm thinking of it. You could have him as like a main DPS and not worry about his charisma, or you can try and make him a tank, and in that scenario you'd want him to use his charisma if he's going to be a tank, because then he's going to draw more enemy attention. So I think that's interesting, and it's kind of the first time we've seen something like that with a charisma and adding enemy attention drawn to himself when the charisma is active. So I think that's good. And when regular attack hit enemy, then make it earth, the same as Ryvern, because obviously if you don't have a weapon, then your normal attacks are going to be very bad. So this basically fixes that, and every no wheeled unit in the future that comes out, if there are any, probably going to have the same thing, or at least something similar. So trait 1 is just very basic. I mean, there's nothing special about his trait 1, just big damage, and super armor's great. Enemy attention drawn +2 can be useful. So the trait 2 is where it gets a bit more interesting and worrying to me. So when I did a lot of reading on this unit, because he sounds interesting, right? And he's got high damage numbers, but there's a big but on this one, and that is the trait 2. So let's have a look. Every 5 seconds, give unit the magicule buff. Magicule buff is very important for this unit. Can stock up to 5 magical buffs, very important as well. So when magical buff is active, when using a skill, there's a chance to use one buff to boost damage by 50% at damage cap 40,000. So let's just stop there. Here's why I don't like it, because you only get one buff every 5 seconds, right? So at the start of the battle, you're not having any buffs at all, so you don't have any. And what makes it worse, and what I don't like at all, is the fact that when you're using a skill, there is a chance to use one, so it's not guaranteed at all. That's what sucks. There's a chance, so there's a chance to use one to boost damage and damage cap. That's why I don't like it. If it was, this is always active, and there's a chance to lose the buff when you're skill attacking, that would have been fine. I would have liked that, but because it's a chance to use one to get that buff is just not reliable at all, and most of the time it's not going to be active, and that just really sucks, because basically this trait right here isn't going to be active at all most of the time. So I really don't like this about this unit. That's like the main negative thing about I have about this unit, is the fact that there's a chance to use one buff to get this boost, and this boost is very big. 50% damage and 40,000 damage cap is a lot, and you don't want to miss out on it, but the fact is, most of the time you're going to be missing out on it because you only get one buff every 5 seconds, and there is only a chance to use one of those buffs. So yeah, it doesn't sound great to me. I haven't really seen him in testing yet, which I will try later. I've seen a little bit, but I'll have to try him myself later on to see how it actually performs, but I don't have hopes for it at the moment. When special activates, use all of the magicule buffs to boost damage 50% and damage cap 40,000, so basically the same thing but for his special, which is fine. And here's another negative thing. When 5 magicule buffs are stocked, then after 5 seconds it uses all of the buffs to basically debuff him, so it cuts his HP by 50% and it gives him a strength minus 30% debuff. So I just don't like this trait. If this trait was a bit different, just like very slightly different, then it would have been quite good. But the way that they've done it, I don't like it, because it's very RNG focused and not reliable, which means, you know, bad, not great, but I can't hate on it too much because I haven't tried it yet. But at least what I've heard so far, it's not that great, so I don't really like this trait, honestly. I mean, if they did this a different way, and how I would have done this is having the magical buffs is fine. I think that aspect is fine, but the only thing I would change is the part here where it says, when using a skill, chance to use one buff to boost damage. What I would have done is instead, this 50% damage and 40,000 damage cap buff always be active as long as you have a magicule buff, and then when you're using a skill, there be a chance to lose one of those buffs. I think that would have been way better, because that would have been much more reliable. They should have done it that way instead. I would have been fine with that, and I think it could be way better, but the way they did that they've done this, where there is a chance to use one to boost damage and damage cap, I just don't like it, and I don't like that at all. So traits aren't really anything crazy. I mean, I think trait 1 is really good, and not being interrupted by most attacks is amazing. Love that always on every unit. It's just I don't like his trait 2 at all, because of the magicule buff, having a chance to use one to buff damage and damage cap, just not reliable. So I don't really like that. Let's have a look at his skills next. So we looked at his charisma already. Just allows him to take more physical damage, so that's nice. HP up max, attack up max, fighting spirit up 2, charisma up 3, charisma up 4, so Just gotta say this, he is gonna have a lot of stats. Like how Ryvern has a lot of health, he's not gonna have as much health. Veldora won't have as much health as Ryvern, but he does have like a few skills that can give him a lot of stats, so like strength, defense, mind, probably gonna be pretty high, I think. And there are a lot of stat ups here, which usually they're just whatever, but it's nice to see higher stats. He has Proud Force, but he doesn't have any crit up skills, which is weird. But he does have auto critical, which I guess is fine. Dragon Mastery, when unit has dragon type, give physical and magic attacks, special counter, anti-god type effect. Damage from gods minus 10% and special damage 20%. That's nice. Basically giving him a god slayer, which is always nice to have. Auto Grand Brave and auto high protection is great. Love that. Critical haste, stone armor. Nice buffs here. Basically got everything you need. You got brave, protection, critical haste. Basically got everything. Apart from fort. You don't have fort, but whatever. Awaken 2 is nice to have. Gale Force. More SET speed at max HP. Earth Giga Drive. Okay. So he has... One thing that's weird is he has Earth Attack Raise, but he doesn't have 2, 3, or 4. Which is strange. Because we've seen... Like with 2P, she has Earth Attack Raise 4 and 2, I think. So... Veldora only having Earth Attack Raise 1 is kinda weird. I would have expected like at least Earth Attack Raise 3 or something. You know, that would have been okay, but just Earth Attack Raise isn't really too much by itself. Stone Enhance is okay. Earth Critical Raise is okay. Pirate's Feast, I do like Pirate's Feast. That does save some SC if you want to put that on him, then he's got it on ready, so you don't have to worry about that. And Spirit Breath's nice. Less speed can help, but he's got a Close the Gap skill too, so speed isn't super important. Piercing can help. Shockwave 2, I like this because Shockwave 2 isn't a learnable skill yet, so any unit that has this is going to be useful for breaking guard. And it also means you can put on Shockwave 1 as well, and have a decent guard break. So that would be nice. Special Boost 3, Indomitable Spirit, okay. Giant Killing 3, that's nice. Rapid Recovery, and then I believe we get to some more unique skills. Aren't that many, but this one, Continue Métis effect, that's great. Love that. Nullify Mind Down debuffs from active skills as well, that's great. And then this one, Equip Accessory Strength Defense Mind plus 30%. I don't really care about this honestly, because 50% of your accessory most of the time it's going to be like nothing, you know, like if you've got 100% strength accessory, then it's just going to increase it to 150%, well 150 strength, so that's plus 50 strength that you're getting. It's not really anything at all, so it's like whatever. This one though, this one's great. When no armor or weapons are equipped, strength and defense 100%. That's amazing. There's the big stat boost right there. 100% more strength and defense. Love it. Mind plus 30% as well. That's great as well. Love it. When unit has the magicule buff, well, there's that word again. Great. Skill damage 100%, damage cap 40,000 more. Okay. We'll probably get back to damage caps in a moment, once we've talked about all of this. And then this one, Battle Start, give a revive effect. Love that. When revived, give strength, plus 30% buff for 20 seconds. That's nice. Was okay. And then, Sixth Enhanced skills. So, there's something different about these Sixth Enhanced skills that I want to say. And that is, if you go click on this, it now says when only one weapon is equipped, or when no weapons are equipped, damage cap plus 5,000 instead. You know what this means? Is that, to me, this sounds like they want to make more no-wield type units in the future. It sounds like it's going to start becoming a more common thing, because what would be the reason that they would change this right now, you know? I think they're going to release more in the future. But also, Ryvern is getting a decent buff from this, because now he's going to get the 5,000 damage cap buff instead of the 2,500, so that's amazing. Ryvern's getting some love in this update, which I like, because I like Ryvern, honestly. And that's kind of it for his skills. So, what do I think so far? Well, let me just talk quickly about his damage caps. So, his base damage caps are quite low, honestly. So, base damage caps, no conditionals, is about 78,000, which is quite low for a single wield. And if you go to Ryvern, his damage caps right now are reaching like 16,000, well, 160,000. Big numbers. And that is with his Never Lord Eyes buff, if I got that word right. Weird words, but yeah. Ryvern's got some high damage caps, and the damage cap of Veldora with no conditionals is very low. But here's where it changes, though. He has some high potential damage caps, but the problem is reaching it. You know, like, if you go back to the trait 2, chance to use one buff to boost damage, you know, that is 40,000 damage cap. So in total, with all of his damage caps in his kit, he could reach 160,000-ish, which is great. You think that sounds amazing. 160,000 damage cap is really good, but you just got to remember, most of the time it's not going to happen. Like, occasionally you'll probably get one skill that would do that much, but most of the time it's not going to happen. And if you remember, Ryvern is already hitting around 160,000 anyway, so, you know, it probably doesn't help that I've got him built as well, but, you know, it's just, like, and another thing is, if you're missing out on that 40,000 damage cap, then you're going down to 120,000 damage cap. That's okay, and it would be decent if his skills were fast, but they're not, really. If his skills had higher hit counts and were pretty fast, I think he could have been pretty good. His DPS could be pretty good. But I think his main skill, for sure, for DPS is going to be his skill 3, because that seems pretty fast to me, but I don't know how fast you can spam it yet. I'm going to be trying that out later. His skill 2 seemed okay, but I wasn't too impressed with it. I think his skill 3 looked okay, but since it's like a levitate skill, says levitate, I don't think it's going to be spammable much. So, yeah. Damage caps on Veldora are very iffy and quite strange, and I don't really like it too much because the non-conditional damage caps on him are quite low, and when you have a magicule buff, then 120,000 is okay. That could work, potentially. Maybe. That's not bad. But he's a no-wield unit, and you're kind of comparing him to Ryvern, who has arguably higher damage caps than Veldora, so, you know, it's a bit weird, and I don't know how to think about it yet, but probably we will definitely come back to Veldora later, and I probably will talk a bit more about Ryvern as well, probably in a minute. But for the moment, at least what I'm seeing from Veldora and what he is bringing, I'm not too excited, because he just seems like a damage dealer, you know? Like, his main role is going to be a damage dealer. That's basically what it's telling you, because he doesn't have much else. He doesn't have any supportive type skills. He's got a charisma, which could be a supportive skill, but that's not enough by itself. So, he's got probably 2 roles, which is either, probably his main role is going to be a damage dealer. He could potentially tank, but I don't think it's going to be super tanky. Like, definitely not on the same level as Garland, because he's pretty damn tanky, but he's mostly focused more of a tank. Veldora is in the middle, kind of like a bruiser unit. That's what it looks like to me, so... Since he is mostly a damage focused unit, I don't think it's going to be that exciting to me, because he's not bringing much. If he was a support, like we've had a lot more supports recently, like Shift 9S, decent support, I like him. He's probably going to be more valuable than Veldora. I just say that because I like 9S and people underrate him a lot. It's probably just my excuse, but yeah. Honestly, Veldora seems decent, but I'm just not too excited about him. Now, let's have a look at the arc next, because I think this one is an interesting arc. So, arc trait, pretty interesting. So, Earth skill damage 40% at level 15, that's pretty good. 40% more Earth skill damage, kind of specific, but if we're using an Earth unit, getting 40% damage for your skills, quite useful. When HP hits 50% or less, auto cast high protection once per wave. That's nice. Maybe. I mean, I guess I can see that being useful. Like, if you have Awaken on the unit, then they get to low health, they trigger auto protection, and then they get healing from Awaken, and then they're back to full health, and now you've got high protection for hopefully 40 seconds. So that's not bad. 10 seconds after battle start. There we go. Give closest ally to unit the Storm Dragon Teachings buff. So I don't know why they're going more conditional with these buffs. I don't like it because they're just too conditional, you know. I like buffs that are reliable enough. So what does this buff do? It boosts strength and defense. Boosts unit strength and defense by 10% of the values before battle start. This could be good. Re-give the buff every 10 seconds after. Okay, so it doesn't say how long the buff lasts. I would hope 40 seconds, but like whatever, because it's gonna re-give the buff every 10 seconds. But here's the thing that's a bit weird. It's not very reliable, and I've said that a few times already, you know, because of Veldora, but this is a similar thing because it's to the closest ally to the unit that has this arc equipped. So it gives the closest ally this buff every 10 seconds. And I don't know if it means multiple allies can have this buff or what. Gonna have to test that, because if multiple allies can have this buff and it lasts like 40 seconds, then that could be pretty good. But if it lasts 10 seconds, then it doesn't really matter too much, you know. And what the buff is 10% strength and defense of the unit's stats, which is still weird wording for me to understand that fully, but kind of similar to like the God arc trait and Shift Gorm's defended buff, kind of, but including strength, and it's not that much of a buff. So yeah, I think it's okay. I just don't think it's really reliable at all, because if you're using a physical DPS that's going to be wandering around a lot, then it's not going to be very reliable of who's going to get this buff. Yeah, I get kind of that, but I'm okay with some conditions, but something like this, you can't really take advantage of it much, and we have a lot of things in the game already that I would prefer using instead, you know. But I think potentially this could be useful, but one problem though is if you're using this on a support and you've also got a mage, then if you've got a support, a mage and a physical DPS, basically all the time this buff is going to be given to the mage, because the physical DPS are going to be right up against the enemy's face and they're going to be further away from the support and the mage, so the support is going to be giving the buff all the time to the mage, which strength don't do anything to a mage. So that's just one thing I'm thinking about. It could work, but again, you have to work around it and make it work, which is the thing. I think it's okay. I think it's an okay trait. It's just a bit weird to work around. Let's have a look at the learnable skills next. So, I think these learnable skills are pretty good. Mostly the final skill. So that's check, skill damage to enemies close to death plus 15%. You know who's gonna like this? If I remember his name. I can't remember names right now. I'll get it. Too many. ThenSura, yeah, he will love it because he is built very similar to that. So he increases damage when enemies are close to death. So he's gonna love that skill. So that skill will be useful for him only, basically, or any unit. You know, actually, it's not bad. For SC, for 15% more skill damage when an enemy is close to death. I do kind of like the sound of that. I think, yeah, Divine Beast ThenSura is gonna like this the most. But if you think about it, basically any physical unit could use this. But would you want to use it? Up to you. I mean, in PvP, yes, could be pretty good, honestly. For SC, you're getting 50% more damage, but it's only when they're close to death, so you've got to think about that. Most of the time it's not going to happen, but can help finishing off the unit, potentially. And Fast Grand Fort, probably won't use it, I think. But it's there if you care about that. Now, the main skill here, empty-handed. Now, I'm a bit worried. I'm quite worried about this. I'm very worried. I'll tell you why. Because I'm worried about this being a collab limited skill. And them releasing more no-wield type units in the future. If that's the case, then we're screwed. Because that means that every future no-wield unit is not going to have the skill, and you're going to be missing out on that massive boost of 10,000 damage cap and 30% damage. So I'm at least hoping that in the future, I'm just hoping that empty-handed is not a collab limited skill, but it may be, it probably is. And I'm hoping they don't release too many no-wield units, because you're really not going to want to miss out on this skill if that's the case. This skill can have potential in the future, but right now, there's only 2 units that can benefit from this, which is obviously Ryvern and Veldora. Those are the only 2 units that can use this. But in the future, maybe that'll change. So we don't know what the future's going to have. So in the future, this could be like one of the best skills, because they could release hundreds of no-wield type units. But right now, we've only got 2 units, so the value of this is not as high as it could be. It's kind of similar to the equivalent of single wield, you know, favoured sword is equivalent to that. So, it's pretty good. I'm hoping it's not a collab limited skill, but it probably is, because it's on a collab limited arc, so I'm a bit worried about it, and I would really like to have it. Archive reward, I think is okay too, honestly. So, it's an accessory, skill attack damage 10%, that's great by itself. You could use that on anyone. And then when no armor or weapons are equipped, skill attack damage plus 20% more. So obviously Veldora and Ryvern will really like this, and this arc seems more focused on the no-wield units, which right now isn't super valuable because we've only got 2 of them. But like I said, in the future, if we have more, this arc will start becoming way more valuable. So that's why I'm a bit worried about, oh, do I want to get this, or if I skip it in the future there might be more no-build units and I kind of want this just for that case, you know. Like right now the value of this isn't super high, but we don't know what the value is going to be in the future. That's just the problem. Big problem. But I still think it's going to be good. Skill attack damage 10%, you could use that on anyone. So yeah, in my opinion, I think this arc is going to be the main selling point of this banner. So if you do want to pull on this banner, maybe you like Veldora, that's up to you. Veldora can work, he's still a good unit. It's just he's a bit iffy and I'm not too fond of him. I don't think he's super exciting for me, honestly. But if you like him, then go ahead, it's up to you. But I don't think he's going to find a place in the meta currently. At least just from me looking at him. I think if I were to pull on this banner, I would want to pull for this arc. That's the main reason I would pull on this banner. Because this arc can seem some very good usage in the future, potentially. Right now, I just want this empty-handed skill to put on Ryvern and that's it. That's all I want. I just want this empty-handed skill on Ryvern. I want that right now. Really badly. But I'm not going to be pitching it because that's stupid. But potentially considering it because the value of this arc could go very high. I'm just a bit worried about what they do, you know. So yeah, that's just what I think. So decent banner. Basically all banners are decent, but yeah, the main selling point on this banner for me is definitely the arc. Veldora, if I get him, is great. But I just don't think he's going to be that amazing. He's probably going to be fun and help you farm the event a bit, but that's kind of it. So yeah, that's the part 1 banner. Honestly, I think you're better off saving for part 2 for the moment, because you just got to wait another week and Diablo will come out and we don't know what he's going to have. So I would definitely recommend at this point just use tickets and save for part 2 in case, because that's always the case, is saving. But being smart pays off all the time. I'm gonna do that this time because I know it's different story, because with Nia I wanted everything because it's Nia, my favorite collab. But with this, it's a different story because I don't really care about Veldora. If I was a huge fan of TenSura, then I would probably want to get everything, but I'm not that person, so I mostly go for what I think's fun and who I think I would use the most. So let's have a look at his paid equipment next in the trading space. I did have a little look, and honestly they don't look that exciting. So I was thinking that he was probably going to have a 50 credential paid because he doesn't have weapons or armor, so he can only equip accessories. He's got 2 paid accessories, which is okay. Let's have a look at the first one. So I don't know, this one is just not, you know, it's not great. I wouldn't get this. So defense mind, okay. Won't faint, sure, that's useful, but there are ways around it. When using skills, damage taken minus 20%. Honestly, this accessory not that great. I wouldn't use it unless you were making him a tank, but I don't think that would work. If it turns out he's pretty tanky, then this accessory can see some good value, but at the moment, if you want him as just a DPS, then you don't really need this at all, and you can go for better accessories if you want him to be a damage dealer. So it's a very basic accessory, and I don't really care for it right now unless he turns out to be a tank, which he probably won't. So yeah. Next one though, I like this one more. 124 strength, okay, nice. Earth attack damage 20%, good. Damage cap 3000, also great. When physically attacking, enemy defense minus 10% and deal damage. So basically this accessory is just giving him more damage. So If you want him to be damage dealer, then yes, you would get this one. This would give him more damage and a bit of damage cap, but honestly, there are a few other options. If you did Ryvern's event, you would have an accessory already that gives damage and damage caps, so I'll have a look at that probably once we go over to Veldora's recommended equipment, which will be very short, but when we go over that later, I'll have a look at those. But for the moment, it depends on what role you want him to be, but I would recommend this accessory if you were to choose one, because this will allow him to do more damage a little bit and give him some damage cap, so I would probably choose this one. But if he is tanky, or if you want him to be more tanky, I can see this accessory being useful too. It just depends on what role you want him to be, but if you just care about his damage, then just get this one. But just think of what you want him to be first and wait for a bit of testing. If he's not tanky enough, then this won't really help him at all. So, and it's also when using skills, damage taken minus 20%, so it's not really that much if you think about it, because when he's not using skills, the only thing this accessory is going to give is you won't faint, which, you know, is kind of underwhelming for an accessory, especially a paid one. So yeah, I would definitely choose this one. If I were to choose, it would be this one over the other one. And yeah, nothing crazy about his accessories, honestly. I was hoping for something better to help his magicule buff. Like, what I was hoping for is something like making his magicule buff more reliable, or giving him a magicule buff at the start of battle, or something to do with magicule buff on his paid, but it's nothing like that. There could have been some potential with his paid equipment and synergizing with his magicule buff, but there's none of that. That's sad, but at least if you're free to play, you don't have to worry about his paid equipment at all, because you don't need any of them. And if I were to pull Veldora, I don't think I would even get one of those paids, because I just don't think it's worth getting any of them. So that's just where I am at right now. So we will do summons very soon. There is still a bit more to talk over first. Obviously the Redux things are still here. If you go here, you do get one of these, and you do get a second one in the event if you do that right now, so make sure to do that. Let's have a look over here. So you do not want to pull on this banner. They've got literally no reason to pull on that banner whatsoever. This, you get 2 tickets. So there is a choice of 4 arcs. I'm not even going to bother looking at the units, because you don't really need... I don't think it's worth getting any of those units, honestly. Out of these 4 arcs, I need to remind myself what they have, but this one's probably the last one that I would get. I don't think this one's that amazing. This one's okay. Main reason why this one's good is because Ultra Fire Health Spirit Victory's good. I like this. This skill I have used a couple times. Is Veldora worth getting? Well, in my opinion so far no, but I haven't tested him yet. I've only gone through his kit so far. We will do some testing with him later, depending on if we get him, but I'm still going to be testing him in the unit test play quest, so I'll get to test him out later to properly see how he performs. But right now I'm not super excited about him. I would just recommend saving for part 2. That's just what I think. These 2 are newer ones. Okay, well, yeah, that arc, not great. This one, Besties has Besties, obviously this one's great. This skill I use a lot. Archive reward is the Remover's Vessel, so yeah. if I were to choose two things from this, I would probably get my bestie Sworn Ally as my first choice. Definitely get that first. And then second choice, I mean, this one isn't that great, so I think my second choice would have to be this one, honestly, because this one's pretty good. The Archive Award is actually pretty solid. I've used that a few times, and the learnable skills are pretty good. This one's nice, so yeah, I would definitely pick those two arcs, and then the other two you can kind of skip, because those two I don't really care about. So just get this one first, get that right now, or wait and use your tickets first. That's probably the best plan. And the second one can be this one, and that's it. That's just what I'd recommend. The other two arcs aren't really anything special, I don't think. I don't think I've ever used either of those. No, this one I've never really used. So yeah, I can go from experience that I can say that these two, this one and that one, top two ones to select for sure. And then that's kind of it. You don't really need to select any of these units unless you really want to, but make sure you have those two arcs first and then do whatever you want. That's it. So great. Right. So that's pretty much everything from the training space that I wanted to have a look at for the moment. Obviously we've got the event training space. I've already traded for the tickets, so there isn't really anything else to show here. So the near trading space is still up, so make sure to do that. And yeah, let's go over to summons next, which will be interesting. Collab challenge, you do get some tickets from doing that one, and some crystals here, which is nice. So my plan for today is a bit different. Usually I would want to pull for the unit or something, which is still the case, but this time I don't expect to get anything new at all, because I'm not too fussed about getting the unit. I would really like to get the arc if possible, but we've got 12 tickets, hopefully we can get something from those and then use some crystals and hopefully get the arc. That's kind of what I'm hoping for today, but I'm not going to be pitying anything. I had to pity Shift 9S, which sucked, but I really wanted to get him. I think he's good. So right now I'm not too fussed about this part 1. I'm going to try and take my time with this one and use tickets and do the daily pulls and wait until part 2 just to see what part 2 brings, because part 2 could be better. We don't know yet. So let's just start off with tickets first, and then step gacha, and then free crystals, and be sad in my little corner that we got nothing, but hopefully not. Hopefully we can get the arc. I don't expect anything from these two. Probably going to be a skip. I'm going to watch it anyway just in case, but nah. One. It's going to be a gold, yeah. There's only 2 in there. 2 gold ones though. So, temple ticket. Biggest chance right here to get something, hopefully. If we can get the arc right now, that will be the best case scenario. Because that is the one thing I really want from this, is the arc, and then I can leave. But I doubt it will happen. Probably not going to be a red in this one unless there is. There might be one, but I'm not convinced. There is one. Can you be something new and a limited arc? If so, probably not. It's going to be a dupe of... Obviously a dupe. Great. I haven't got anything new from tickets in a long time. It feels like that. Yeah, Diablo looks very cool to me. His artwork looks amazing. I think it looks cool. So I'm hoping he's going to be something unique and very strong, but we don't know yet. We have to wait for a week, and we'll definitely be back for that next week. He looks like he's going to be dark, which is nice. Let's do lap 1 and see if we get anything from that, and then 3 crystals and probably get nothing, but hopefully 3 have been showing up a lot, but there's another blue. This one's a gold. I already know. 1. Yeah. Gold. There you go. Knew it. Great. I'm not going to be pulling much with paid crystals. I'm only doing lap 1 because it's cheap. I always do lap 1 at least, at the very least. I do have a few free crystals to use. The rare again? No Zekers this time. At least a gold. No, we haven't had a gold show up yet. This one's a skip. For sure. There's no way anything's going to show up there. And then the final 6. Yeah. Final but not final, because we've still got 3 crystals to use. I don't know how many pulls I'll do. 3, okay, big gold. Here's a gold, okay. Gives me a little bit of hope at least, but not always, because I've been screwed, and I always say that when this happens, so it needs the animations to go up to a red. It was 1 arc. Yeah. Don't be an SSR. If you can be the limited arc, I would be very happy. It's only 1, great. It is the arc. I should be excited, and I am, but I don't sound like it, because I don't overreact. Ah, that's great. That's kind of ideal for me. That's really good. Well, I could stop here and not do any more pulls, but I would be crazy if I were to do that. Love it. Now I don't have to worry about this arc at all. That's great. Love that. We're done from there then, I guess. You know what I would do right now? If I was a normal person, I would not do any more pulls, but I'm not like that, you know, so I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, just for someone. I'm gonna do one single 10 pull, and if we get Veldora then great, if we don't then I'm not gonna get him. That's the plan. 1 10 pull, all getting from me. Because I don't have any reason to pull in this banner anymore, because I don't really want Veldora, honestly. But I'm going to do 1 10 pull. I don't want to, but I'm going to. At least be a 1 red to give some hope, but there's a blue, it's not great, but you never know. Until you know, you know. Can Veldora be in this 10 pull? Because this is like the last chance we have. There are still tickets and stuff, but honestly, like I said earlier, I don't really care too much about Veldora. I just wanted the arc, and we have that, so like anything we get now. 2. A red? No, I guess not. Okay, fine. I could do singles until we get a single red, but I don't want to. I could. I think it's smarter to save for part 2, but I at least want to try to get him, but not too much. Okay. Great. If you look at the login bonus, though, there is some tickets in here, so you could get something from these tickets. That's the thing. 3 more tickets for part 1 there. Could get something. Probably won't. I may just do a few singles just to see if we can get 1 red and leave it. Like I said, I wouldn't, but you know, it would still be fun to get Veldora, but I'm telling you this, I think I'm going to skip him. I'm not going to get Veldora because I don't want him at all. I'm not going to do too many. We'll move on in a second. Yeah, we're done. I just wanted to see 1 red show up. Okay. I'm not going to worry about Veldora, honestly. I am going to be a smart person for once in my life. Wow. And just skip him and save the rest of my crystals, so. I got the one thing I wanted from that banner. Currently I'm using Ryvern instead. He's going to get a good buff. So, I'll talk about Ryvern and Veldora very soon. Let's just go to trading space to see how many pulls we did first, and then I will still showcase Veldora in the unit test play quest and talk about him and stuff a bit more, but this stream won't be a super long one because I don't think he's that exciting to me, but we'll see. I have 11 credentials. I'm not going to be getting any of his pays at all, so I'm just going to be trading them for something, but I'll have to have a look at those later just in case. But probably not going to care about those. We only did 26 pulls. Great, love it. Actually, we can do one single ticket. Yeah, I love it. I'm going to do that. Great. Maybe this one ticket can give Veldora. Probably not. Would be nice, but in your dreams. You know what? I would rather we don't get him because I'd rather save my luck for part 2 instead. So give me a blue. If you give me no reds, it makes me feel like I'm saving my luck. Yeah. Okay, well. Let's talk a bit more about Veldora. I do want to have a look at Ryvern as well and the Arc too. What order do I want to do that in? I don't think it matters too much. Let's let's go to the Arc first because we got that. We might as well have a look. Yeah, here we go. Now we can level this up with one of those. There we go. Empty-handed. Love it. 275 XP, getting closer to that level 55. I've been farming a lot yesterday and the day before. So at level 10 is 35% earth skill damage. Makes sense. And then after that, it just gets 1 more % each level, which fine, whatever. I think I'm gonna get this. Yeah. I'm gonna get that. 100 XP. I should really be getting more Archive rewards, honestly. And I'll favourite that as well, because I think it's decent. Right. So, that's the Arc, I guess. Empty-handed, I'm gonna be using that on Ryvern very soon. And that's kind of the Arc, so... I'm gonna talk about Ryvern a little bit now. Because he's kind of similar to Veldora in a way. One thing, the only reason why I want to talk about him is this. So they changed this skill, as you know. So skill damage cap 2,500, right? When only one weapon is equipped or when no weapons are equipped, damage cap 5,000 more. So if you know, Ryvern was only getting the 2,500 damage cap before because it was only either you get a damage cap or if you have one weapon you have this damage cap. So now they've added when no weapons are equipped you get 5,000 damage cap instead. So because they've added that, he's now getting the 5,000 damage cap bonus instead of the 2,500 damage cap bonus. So now he gets an extra 10,000 damage cap just for free. So if you like Ryvern, then that's a massive bonus for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 of these, and then you times that, and now you've got an extra 10,000 damage cap, which is great. Love it. So free 10,000 damage cap from this, and then if you've got the limited arc, you can also give him 10,000 more damage cap. So Ryvern is definitely getting a lot of love in this update, which I like because I like Ryvern a lot, and I'm going to be building that. I'm going to be putting that on him as soon as possible after the stream ends. That's my plan. And then I'm just going to be using Ryvern and use him as my Veldora instead of Veldora because that's copium, but whatever. That's kind of all I wanted to say about him. Let's go over to Veldora now. I want to talk about Veldora's recommended equipment, and the best way to do that is just go to Ryvern because it's going to be a similar build. So, for Veldora's recommended equipment, obviously, you don't want a weapon and you don't want an armor, so you are only going to be equipping 2 accessories. There is one good accessory that you should have if you've been around for a little while. If you were around when Ryvern's event was around, then you should have this. And if you do, this accessory is going to be really good on Veldora for sure, if you got this. Pretty sure this was a free one from the event, and it's amazing for a free one. You get 20% more damage and 1000 damage cap for having no weapons or armor equipped. Is perfect. I would definitely recommend this to be one of your options for an accessory on Veldora, 100%. I think I'm going to favourite that as well, just in case. So, first slot for your accessory for Veldora can be this one, and then your second one is a bit of a different story. Your second option becomes a bit more difficult. Obviously, you could have one of Veldora's paid if you got one of those, or it could be the accessory from the limited arc. That would be a great option too. This one could be great on Veldora, but if you didn't get the arc and Veldora, and you only have Veldora, then and you don't have any of his paids, then it becomes a bit difficult because there aren't really that many other good options apart from his paid and the limited arc rewards. So I think what you would have to do is this can be one of your options, then the second one, you have to think about it because he's Earth. There aren't really that many accessories. There is a few actually that you could use now I think about it. This one, yeah. This one you could definitely use on Veldora. Actually a pretty good option. 10% more earth damage. I think Veldora would like this, and it's also giving curse, stun, and illness resistance, so this one's a very good accessory, so you could use this on Veldora plus this one, and that could be your free-to-play type build, and that will be perfectly fine because those 2 accessories are actually really good, so you'll be doing fine there. You don't need any type of pay-to-win build. You can just go with free-to-play accessories, and you'll be completely fine because there are good options as long as you have them. There are probably a few other options, but I think that one accessory was the main one. This one, if you have it, probably don't, but if you have it, you could use it. Aren't really anything else I can think of. Yeah. This one maybe. And that's kind of it, yeah. So, one thing to think about, Veldora is very easy to build because you only need 2 accessories, but the accessory options, if you don't have any of his paids or the limited archive reward, then your accessory options are going to be not as accessible. You won't have many options, but if you've been around for a while and if you have at least a built up account, then you still are going to have some good options like the ones I've said, and especially this one is going to be a good option, and the second one can be some other accessory like that other earth accessory. So it's quite easy to build, and if you're a new player you can just have nothing and no accessories, no nothing, and just have Veldora by himself, and he should be able to do a lot of damage by himself. So Veldora is going to be very easy to build for new players, should be, but it does kind of, you know, it can be easy for newer players, but I would argue Ryvern is easier for newer players than Veldora because of Veldora's magicule buff for a newer player can sometimes screw them over, because if Veldora is your only unit and you're just starting today or something, then you may struggle in longer battles because of the magicule buff. So that may suck, but he should still be doing a lot of damage, and if you can spam a lot of skills, then it should be completely fine, and he should be doing a lot of damage most of the time to clear most of the story stages, so he should be fine. Very easy to build. So now let's actually go into the event and try out Veldora in the unit test play quest, which I haven't done yet. So this will really give me an idea of how he performs by himself with all of his base things. So this has, yeah, obviously both his paids. You don't need this. If you are going for damage, funny thing, you don't need two paids. You can just have this one, and this one can be something better. You know, I mean, you don't even need any of his paids, because for more damage, you could just use other accessory for more damage, like the Archive reward, even better. So he's got all of his base skills, which is nice, and the arc, and his page. So let's try him out. This is going to be my first time actually trying him out in battle, but yeah, let's see. How is he going to perform? I mostly am interested in his skills, skill stocks, and damage caps. So let's have a look. So damage, skill stocks, 432, very basic. His normal attack, whatever. His stats right now looking pretty nice. 7,800 strength, amazing. Defense and mind, pretty good too. So yeah, he is going to have a lot of stats. That's a given. His HP isn't bad either, but Ryvern has more health than him. So let's start using his skill 1. So he's got 1 stack of magicule right now. Well, 2 now. When special activates, use all magical buffs to boost damage and damage cap. And there's also a chance to use 1 on his skills. So look at his damage numbers, 12,000, 12,000, well, 1,200, there you go, there's just 163,000, because he used one of those magical buffs. So the 163,000 is a lot, right? But what's very funny to me is that's just comparable to Ryvern in a boss wave, you know? That's what's funny. 123,000 is quite low. Skill 2. Okay. There's 163,000. 163,000. 123. 163. Okay. It's not activating. We're at now 4 stocks. I used 1. Okay. Well, let's try skill 3. That's actually pretty nice. I think his DPS of his skill 3 is going to be pretty good. Now he's at 5 stocks. This is the problem, is even when I'm spamming skills, he can get to 5 stocks. And you don't want to stay at 5 stocks for long, because then he's going to get a debuff and lose health. So I'm going to try and lower that by as much as I can. We got rid of 1. We got rid of another 1. Got rid of another 1. Now we're at 3. Now we're at 4. Damn it. It's creeping up. Now we're at 5 again. I'm going to use the special to finish this off. It's going to use all of them to boost the damage of this. Okay. Big number. I like that, but it's not the best special ever. I mean, I'm gonna try that again in a minute. In a second. The special damage numbers were good, but I had 5 magical buffs, and the hit counts weren't very high. I do definitely want to do a comparison in a minute to him and Ryvern, just for fun. But I just really don't like his damage caps on Veldora. I just don't think his damage caps are enough, you know? Most of the time, he is going to have at least one magicule buff, so that's pretty easy to get one, but what isn't easy is trying to use one, because I was using a lot of skills there, and I still managed to get up to 5, which sucked. Yeah, you see, 83,000 at the start of battle is just very bad. I don't like that at all. It's terrible. I mean, here's also one thing to think about, is you can easily increase his damage cap from, obviously, the empty-handed skill from the limited arc. That can increase his maximum potential damage cap to 170,000, which is nice. That's great. Yeah, the damage right now is very low until he gets one magicule buff and uses it. That's one magicule buff, but he didn't use it. Not using it, 123,000 is okay. It's nothing crazy. Still not using it. Still not using it. Still not using it. Still no. No. But used it that time. That took a lot of skills just to use one. Now we're at 4. Used it that time, 163. See, I think the damage and damage cap looks very good when he uses one magicule buff. But it's just, he doesn't use the magicule buff often enough. Like, I could be spamming a skill 1, it used it then, not then, not then, not then. You know, it's not reliable enough. I could be spamming skills like this fast, and see, I just got the debuff. I just lost health, and now I've got a strength debuff. Even though I was continuously spamming skills to try and get rid of that, get rid of those magicule buffs, I couldn't. Which is what really sucks, and now his damage is super low, you see. I mean, he can still hit decent damage with his strength debuff. So with one magicule buff, use his special. Okay. So, I kind of get what they're going for. They want you to kind of balance using your skills and his special, but it doesn't work. You know, it could work, but they just made it so it can't work. Reason why is because your special would need to charge fast enough, you know? So you would need to have a fast enough special to charge, and you would also need enough skills to spam to get rid of them as well. It just doesn't work. What they want you to do is they want you to try to continuously spam skills, and then when you're at like 5 magicule buffs and just about to get debuffed, they want you to use your special to go back down to 0 instead of getting debuffed. But it doesn't work in most scenarios because you're not going to have your special up unless you have Great War of Ruin or you've been in the battle for a long time, and if you're in the battle for a long time, you've probably already been debuffed at least once, so... Yeah, I'm just not impressed with this, honestly. Like, tell me I'm wrong, because I would love to be wrong, but I just don't think, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing how he can be good, you know? Like, it's not great, you know? At least, I'll do one more try, and then I guess we'll leave it there with Veldora for the moment, and then I guess I can mess around with Ryvern a little bit. And I don't know what else, this stream won't be very long, I can already tell. I definitely think it's going to be fun. He can use skills and not get flinched, that's great. Love that. Also, the problem is if you don't have a unit to help with SCT, then how the hell are you gonna keep spamming skills? Because he's gonna keep getting debuffed if you can't use your skills all the time, or your special. Damage super low when he doesn't have a magical buff. Now he has one. I'm gonna try and get rid of it. I do like his skill 3, that's his only skill I like, honestly. Got rid of one that time, okay. Now we're at 2, got rid of one there. See, it can be reliable. If it was like a 50% chance of using one, that would have been great. But it's not. Use one. Use one. Use one that time. It takes a while. Now I'm at 3. It takes too long. 1 skill, 2, 3. Took 4 to get rid of one buff, and by that time it already generated another one. Now we're at 4. Got rid of one, now we're back at 4. Yeah, you can spam your skill 3 very fast to get rid of them, but in most cases it's not going to happen, because you would need to focus on him being the main damage dealer, and you would also need a couple units to help with SCT regen with like honey elixir and stuff, and skill stocks for his skill 3. It's just not very viable, and even if you do that, it's not going to be the best DPS ever, so you're better off doing something else. And yeah, the damage cap is good when he can land the magicule buff. It's just not reliable enough. There is a chance that his damage could be pretty high in PvP, but I have no idea yet. There's a chance that when he uses a magicule buff in Arena, that he could do some ridiculous damage, but I can't see that, and I don't know. Someone else is going to have to test that. It's not going to be me, because I'm not going to have him, so does that. Great. So, honestly, there's not much else that I want to do in this stream, because I'm not going to be getting Veldora. I just mostly wanted to pull the Arc, which I do have. Now, I'm probably just going to have a little bit of fun with Ryvern. I just want to show his performance if you don't have him, or if you just don't remember how he performs compared to Veldora. Mine is built though, but one of the skills that I'm giving him, well, most of them are not damage cap. This one is damage cap. I don't think there's anything else that gives damage cap that I've taught him. All of his damage cap is basically his paid and his base damage cap. Okay. Let's just go into the world map quickly and just use Ryvern, because then you can see Ryvern's damage cap numbers in comparison, which is going to be quite funny. I did use Ryvern earlier, try him out, it's pretty good. I guess for this case I can just do... I don't know if I want to remove them. Let's just try him with no arcs equipped. So, let's focus on the boss. I just want to show you Ryvern's damage cap numbers compared to Veldora, because they are very similar units in terms of how they are built, and it will give you a better idea. Even though Ryvern's DPS isn't that great, and his hit counts aren't that great either, but Veldora is in a similar situation. So on his skill 3, yeah, 169,000, almost 170,000. That's in a boss wave, and the boss just died. 164. Now they're dead, yeah. You can see 164,000. I can increase that by another 10,000 when I put the empty-handed skill on him, so you can see how crazy Ryvern is. I like Ryvern as a unit, he's really cool. Ryvern, I like him a lot. But you can see Ryvern's damage cap right there was comparable to Veldora's damage cap when he was using a magicule buff. And you know how reliable that is. Not at all. So that kind of gives you an idea. Veldora can hit 80,000 when he doesn't use a magicule buff. Terrible. That's like half of... yeah, it's basically half of Ryvern's damage cap. And then when he has a magicule buff, it's like 120,000. I guess that's comparable to a Ryvern, again, in waves, maybe. And then when he uses a magicule buff, 160,000, comparable to Ryvern, whereas Ryvern can do his damage cap all the time as long as he's in a boss wave. So, yeah, I just think Ryvern's way more reliable as a unit, and I don't usually try and compare units, but in this case I have to, just because they are very similar in terms of they are both units that don't have a weapon or armor, and I just want to see why Ryvern is built better than Veldora in my opinion. Because Ryvern can hit his damage and caps way easier without any conditionals really. Main reason being, this skill, when no weapon or armor are equipped, then 100% damage and damage cap 90,000. See, here's the funny thing, this 90,000 damage cap is already more than Veldora's non-conditional damage cap, which is just hilarious to me. I think it's great, it's really funny. it really sucks, because Veldora could have this. It would have been great, but yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there isn't too much else that I really want to do at the moment, because I already knew going into the stream that I didn't really want to spend too much time on Veldora, because I didn't really care about him too much. But having some time with him today really made me see how he performs, and I am just not that impressed by him at the moment. There is still a chance that he could be good in PvP, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait for other people to tell me that, and on their testing, but for the moment I'm not fussed about that. Even if he's good in PvP, I'm probably just not going to worry about pulling him, unless he's like a meta PvP unit, which he won't be, because it's not going to happen. I would probably compare his performance in PvP to Ryvern, probably, which, you know how he is in Arena, not the best, but can work a little bit. So, there isn't really anything else. I mean, yeah, this is going to be the one day that I'm not going to switch over to Steam, because I don't need to. Let's go over the news quickly then. They did fix a few bugs, which are great, because I had an issue for a while where I couldn't open guild battles on my phone, which sucks. But now it's fine. So, Moana got 6th Enhance, so if you like her, then that's great. I am considering getting this because I think Moana's a pretty decent unit, because she's a support, so could be worth doing this. I think this is nice. Pretty good. But if you go to the collab, notice yeah, the 6th enhance for these 4 units are just very bad. Like, Demon Lord Veldora Tempest, damage cap plus 6,000 basically. It's not hardly anything. Like, they all needed more than what they're getting. They hardly got any boost at all. Hardly anything. Not much. Yeah. And then their traits, these 2 units get an increase for their traits. It's not really anything at all. It's hardly a buff, so I would just not worry about any of these units. They're not worth using currently. I don't think they ever will, because they're just outdated. They've been a few years old, or however old they are right now. Their Sigmund Hearts didn't help them at all, but if you like them, you could use them, but I just think Sigmund Heart's kind of underwhelming for those 4 units. You can get up to 40 tickets, which is nice. Isn't really anything else I need to say, is there? Not really. Yeah, well, this was a kind of a short one for me, so I can't think of anything else that I want to do in the stream, honestly. Which is surprising, because usually the streams would be about 2 hours long, but I spent longer on the Nier streams because I was more excited about that collab, in my opinion. This collab is going to probably be more of a chill collab unless Part 2 Diablo ends up being pretty good, but we don't know yet. I'm hoping he, at least what I've heard, is he's going to be using a claw, and he's probably a dark unit, so he could be like a dual wield claw dark DPS, which could be interesting, but we don't know yet. Gonna have to wait till next week, so got some waiting to do. But yeah, I think that's it for me. There isn't really anything else that I want to say. I guess I can say my conclusion for the moment. So what I feel like at the moment, this part 1 isn't super exciting. I mean, if you like Veldora, then it's probably going to be more exciting for you, but Veldora as a unit in this game isn't anything impressive, because he's just mostly a damage dealer. So he's not the best, and from my testing, his damage caps were not reliable and not super high. Like, Ryvern's damage caps are better, and Ryvern has been out for quite a while now, so that tells you something. And I was really hoping Veldora would be a better unit than this, honestly. They could have done the magicule buff differently and made it more reliable and consistent, and that would have been perfect and made him just fine. But since it's not, since the magicule buff is the way it is right now, with the chance to use it, I just don't like that RNG factor of the magicule buff, so that's why I'm not a huge fan of this unit. But the arc is definitely the main selling point of this banner, because there is a chance that in the future they could release more no-will type units, and if empty-handed is a collab limited skill, that's going to mean that this arc is going to be the only arc in the game that's going to have the empty-handed skill. And if that's the case, then this arc could be incredibly valuable in the future. Right now, it has some value, but it's not insane value, because this arc can only really benefit Ryvern and Veldora with the empty-handed skill and the Archive reward, and that's the only 2 units currently. But in the future, it could be better. So that's one thing to think about. If you are pulling for this banner, then you're probably going to be pulling for this arc. But for the moment, I do recommend to save a part 2 just in case, because we don't know what part 2 will bring. And I think that's where I'm at right now. Veldora's damage cap most of the time is going to be 120,000, which is solid. It sounds strong, but it's just his hit counts for his skills aren't crazy. They are quite low, and his skills aren't very fast either, especially skill 1, super slow. Skill 3 is fast, but hit counts of his skill 3 are kind of low as well. So, yeah, I don't think his DPS is going to be that crazy. Probably 2p DPS, probably going to be higher than Veldora, which is funny. But, yeah, I don't see Veldora fitting well in the meta currently. Like, if I were to use him, I don't know where I would use him, is the thing, unless he turns out to be a good PvP focused unit, but I can't see that right now. I'm waiting for other people to test him first before I say anything about that. And I'll probably get back to you about that next week, just to talk about him more, probably at that point, to see how people have been thinking about Veldora over the past week, but got a week to wait until that. So, yeah. Honestly, so far, this collab not super exciting for me, but if you are a player that has missed the slime collab previously, or if you're a newer player, then this will be more exciting for you because you will be able to have access to a lot of the rerun arcs that you didn't originally have. And if you do get lucky and get Veldora, then that's great. You can have some fun with him, and he will be a fun unit to play with, but he's just not going to be a top meta unit in my opinion. And you may get annoyed with his magicule buffs if you're not careful, so that's just one thing to think about when you're using him. So that's just what I think for the moment for part 1. Honestly, not super exciting for me, but if you're someone that doesn't have most of these rerun arcs, then it will be more exciting for you because you could get some of these arcs. And like I said earlier, the 2 arcs that you should be getting guaranteed is the Besties arc and the Conqueror Flames. In my opinion, those 2 arcs are the 2 that you should be selecting from tickets, but definitely wait and use your tickets first just in case you get lucky from the tickets and get one of those arcs. So waiting is always a factor in this game and any gacha game, but it can pay off a lot of the time. So yeah, I think that's it. That's everything I want to say for the stream. I wish I could stay here longer because I do enjoy these streams, but right now I have talked about everything that I wanted to cover in the stream, so I'm not going to waste any more time, and I guess I will see everyone next Thursday for sure. So that's going to be hopefully more exciting. Diablo, I'm hoping Diablo can bring a lot more to the table. Hopefully he's a more, less conditional type unit, and it's more reliable, but gonna have to wait and see for the video and wait a week, but a week is not long. And actually, tomorrow is the beginning of December, so soon start thinking about what's going to happen at Christmas. One thing you should be thinking about as well is once this collab ends, I believe it's going to be the limited Christmas unit, so you really got to think about what you want to do with your crystals. And because of that, I really think that pulling on part 1 gacha is not something you should be doing. So yeah, that's just another word of advice. Since Veldora is not something you need, not something crazy, I would highly recommend to skip because of the things that are coming, which Diablo could be good, and also the Christmas unit is coming around in the next few weeks, so there's something to think about. And yeah, I think that's everything. Can't think of anything else. I did farm the event earlier, got those tickets. Still haven't had any good luck from tickets, but maybe that'll happen in part 2. That'd be great if that could happen. But anyways, I'll see you guys next Thursday, hopefully. Should be part 2 for Diablo. Hopefully they bring some exciting stuff. I'm hoping so. I'll see you then. I'll add the timestamps very soon. Bye.